This is it. The ultimate royal endgame has officially been triggered, and the absolute collapse of the Sussex Empire is no longer a matter of if, but a calculated matter of when. What if I told you that behind the closed, heavy oak doors of Buckingham Palace, a secret constitutional execution order has just been signed? A master plan so absolute, so devastating, that it will permanently erase Meghan Markle from the British royal lineage, stripping her of the very identity she has spent the last 6 years commercializing in Hollywood. The whispers are over, the deniable leaks have materialized into cold hard fact, and Prince William's long-rumored ruthless title strip plan has finally been confirmed by top palace insiders. For years, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex believed their titles were an ironclad global brand, a multi-million-dollar shield they could use to launch lifestyle empires, Netflix deals, and political campaigns while throwing stones at the monarchy. But they severely miscalculated the patience of a future king. With King Charles's recent treatment pause signaling a profound, silent shift in the royal timeline, William has stepped into the breach with a terrifying level of institutional power. This isn't just a minor administrative tweak. This is a total, brutal dynastic purge. Meghan Markle is officially losing it all. The HRH status, the Duchess title, the global standing, and the royal connection. Are we witnessing the final, tragic act of a historical family feud? Or is this the long-awaited restoration of royal justice? Stay tuned, because the mask is coming off right now. The institutional machinery of the British monarchy does not operate on personal feelings, Hollywood press releases, or emotional negotiations. It operates on the cold, calculated mechanics of letters patent, statutory instruments, and sovereign decrees. For the past several months, a quiet but utterly ruthless administrative operation has been unfolding behind the heavily guarded walls of the palace secretariat. A silent coup orchestrated not with dramatic shouting matches, but with fine print modifications to the Crown's private legal frameworks. The public narrative has been completely consumed by the sudden announcement that King Charles has officially paused his cancer treatment, a strategic terminology choice that sent immediate shockwaves through the global media landscape. To the untrained eye, a pause sounds like a routine logistical adjustment, a temporary breather in a long medical journey, but to those who understand the highly calibrated, layered language of palace communications, the word choice was a clear institutional signal that the timeline for the future succession has been aggressively accelerated. A pause in medical treatment at 76 years old means the body has reached an absolute threshold where the intervention itself requires a rest, a medical reality that creates an immediate, profound shift in the distribution of sovereign authority behind the scenes. While the international press was busy debating the physical stability of the king as he appeared upright on horseback during the recent Trooping the Colour ceremony, Prince William was quietly utilizing this exact window of domestic urgency to finalize the most devastating dynastic purge in modern history. The future king has officially moved past the phase of passive frustration, transforming his long-rumored defensive strategy into an active, confirmed operational master plan designed to permanently strip the Duke and Duchess of Sussex of their titles, their standing, and their last remaining anchors within the British realm. This is not a hypothetical policy discussion or an informal threat leaked to the tabloids to gauge public reaction. It is a meticulously coordinated legal blockade that has already passed through the highest layers of constitutional approval within the Cabinet Office. For years, the Sussex operation in California has operated under the absolute delusion that their royal titles were an unassailable global brand, a permanent commercial shield that they could continuously leverage to secure multi-million-dollar entertainment contracts, high-end lifestyle launches, and international quasi-royal tours. They believed that the ancient traditions of the crown would prevent any sitting or future monarch from taking the unprecedented step of formally revoking a peerage granted by Queen Elizabeth II. But they completely miscalculated the unyielding, transactional nature of Prince William's vision for a streamlined, modernized monarchy that tolerates absolutely zero institutional duplication or commercial exploitation from overseas. The confirmed title strip plan does not merely target Prince Harry's birthright. Its primary, devastating focus is the total and absolute erasure of Meghan Markle's royal identity, systematically dismantling the very foundation of her global prestige. According to highly classified internal memoranda that have recently circulated among senior Crown solicitors, The legal instrument currently resting in the sovereign safe outlines a multi-front purge that will simultaneously strip Prince Andrew and the Sussexes of their HRH status, formally revoke the dukedoms of Sussex and Albany, and permanently bar them from any future regency or emergency advisory considerations. The scale of this internal eviction is so absolute that it has sent the executive offices in Montecito into a state of total, frantic damage control, as the realization sets in that the multi-million-dollar brand they built on royal proximity is about to be legally reduced to absolute dust. The profound connection between King Charles's shifting health timeline and the sudden confirmation of this title strip plan lies in the unique way that the institution of the monarchy evaluates time when a generational transition becomes an active variable. For the past 18 months, the king's natural instinct as a father had created a lingering ambiguity within the family, a deniable space where back-channel optimization signals suggested that he remained personally open to a reconciliation with his youngest son. This parental leniency allowed the Sussexes to maintain a tenuous, informal connection to the crown, using the gray areas of palace diplomacy to present themselves to the world as a distinct, competing branch of the royal family. But as the medical team advised the household that the king's operational window required a severe reduction in long-term administrative stress, Prince William stepped into the breach with an unprecedented level of institutional power. The Prince of Wales has spent the last 3 years building an unyielding alliance with Princess Anne, the lifelong guardian of the family's traditional estate frameworks, and together they have systematically convinced the king that allowing this unresolved rift to persist into the next reign would create catastrophic operational complications for the succession itself. The monarchy cannot afford to project an image of internal fracture during a moment of national transition, and the institution's raw reputational interest demands that every alternative center of authority be ruthlessly dismantled before the crown changes hands. This calculated institutional pressure is what ultimately broke the king's hesitation, forcing him to authorize the preparation of the emergency enforcement orders that will formally execute the title strip the very moment the transition sequence is initiated. The sheer velocity of this administrative cleanup has been further complicated by the sudden disclosure of a private correspondence that has completely destabilized the geopolitical alignment of the family's internal factions. Reports have emerged from multiple independent palace sources confirming that Princess Catherine took the highly unusual step of writing a warm, deeply personal letter to Prince Harry around the time of his recent, unannounced visit to the United Kingdom. The content of this communication has been guarded with a terrifying level of secrecy under the immediate threat of the Official Secrets Act, but the mere existence of the letter represents a seismic shift in the internal landscape of the court. Throughout the entire Sussex conflict, Catherine has been the family member who maintained the most disciplined, unyielding stance, completely refusing to participate in any public relations optimism or back-channel softening toward the California operation. Her absolute consistency was the very element that made Prince William's firm position sustainable, acting as an institutional anchor that signaled to the household that the senior line would not negotiate under emotional pressure. For her to suddenly issue a warm, personal communication to Harry indicates that a profound calculation has been made behind closed doors regarding the finite timeline the family is now operating within. It was not an offer of official reconciliation or a restoration of previous working arrangements. It was a tactical intervention designed to appeal directly to Harry the person, systematically separating him from the broader Sussex brand apparatus before the legal axe falls on his titles. This brings us directly to the bizarre, highly strategic architecture of Harry's solo appearance in Birmingham for the Invictus Games, an event that exposed a massive, deep-seated rupture in the operational structure of the Sussex campaign. For years, the Duke of Sussex has maintained an absolute, non-negotiable public position regarding his security arrangements in his homeland, using extensive high court filings and aggressive press briefings to argue that the United Kingdom was fundamentally unsafe for his family without the highest level of state-sponsored protection. Yet, despite his previous claims that entering the country without these elite security provisions was an unacceptable existential risk, Harry boarded a commercial flight to Birmingham entirely alone, leaving Meghan and the children behind in California. This sudden, absolute reversal means one of two things, both of which are devastating for the credibility of the Sussex brand narrative. Either the security argument was a highly manufactured public relations leverage tool used for years to justify their self-imposed exile, or something so profoundly urgent occurred behind the scenes that Harry felt compelled to touch down on British soil regardless of the personal risk. By appearing in Birmingham without the standard defensive perimeter of the Sussex public relations apparatus, Harry allowed the world to see him not as a global corporate entity, but as an isolated individual navigating a rapidly closing historical window. The visual of Harry operating independently, stripped of the coordinated multimedia presentation that has characterized every joint appearance with his wife since 2020, represents the exact fracture point that Prince William's legal team had been waiting to exploit. For the past 6 years, the Sussex identity has been constructed on a rigid narrative framework of the unified couple against the cold, unfeeling institution. An us versus them marketing strategy that relied heavily on both individuals maintaining a perfectly synchronized front. The moment Harry stepped off that plane alone to focus on a veteran-centric initiative that represents his most legitimate historical legacy, the corporate brand execution of the Sussex operation instantly collapsed. It provided King Charles with the precise conditions necessary to grant his son a prolonged, unmonitored private audience without the usual hyper-vigilant presence of media advisors or legal intermediaries who have poisoned every previous encounter. The sources describing this meeting emphasize that it lasted significantly longer than the brief, highly formal protocol exchange that occurred earlier in the year, occurring in an unfiltered environment where a father and a son were forced to confront the absolute reality of their relationship. But while this raw, emotional exchange was taking place in the private quarters, the cold administrative reality of the confirmed title strip plan was already moving through the final stages of bureaucratic preparation, completely indifferent to any temporary personal sentimentality, because the institutional survival of the crown had already dictated its terms. The structural division of the family's private assets and institutional privileges had reached a point of absolute finality during that extended meeting, serving as the hidden catalyst that pushed Prince William's legal team to release the final, verified operational directives to the Cabinet Office. The public remains entirely unaware that a peerage within the British realm is not merely a decorative honorific used to fill space on luxury stationery or book covers. It is a profound constitutional entity, governed by ancient statutory laws that can be targeted, restricted, or entirely neutralized if the holder is deemed to be acting in direct opposition to the interests of the sovereign state. For years, the legal advisors in Montecito had relied on the historical precedent that a title granted by letters patent under the Great Seal of the realm required an incredibly complex, slow-moving act of Parliament to be formally overturned. They built an entire corporate infrastructure on this exact assumption, signing contracts with international digital platforms worth tens of millions of dollars under the explicit guarantee that their royal identity was a lifetime asset that could never be unilaterally seized by the family they had abandoned. However, William's legal team, working in absolute coordination with top constitutional lawyers from the Ministry of Justice, discovered an unprecedented administrative loophole within the existing Crown prerogative frameworks that completely bypasses the need for a lengthy, public parliamentary debate. By redefining the titles not as personal property, but as state-controlled national assets, they created a streamlined mechanism where the king can simply issue a new declaration that suspends the active deployment of those titles anywhere outside the territorial borders of the United Kingdom. This precise legal maneuver represents the exact moment where Meghan Markle realized she was losing absolutely everything, as the corporate entities that had previously bankrolled her lifestyle began quietly triggering their standard institutional escape clauses. Internal communications leaked from major digital entertainment agencies in Los Angeles reveal that several multi-year development deals had been structured with specific performance metrics tied directly to the couple's recognized status as working members of the global aristocracy. The moment the word confirmed began circulating among top-tier media executives regarding William's title strip plan, the financial valuation of the Sussex brand dropped into an absolute freefall. The entertainment industry does not operate on loyalty or historical sentimentality. It operates on raw access and the unique mystique of proximity to the British crown. Without the recognized HRH styling and the formal dukedom, the California operation is suddenly stripped of its unique market differentiator, reducing them to standard, everyday Hollywood influencers competing in a highly oversaturated digital marketplace. The sheer desperation within the Montecito estate became completely unmanageable as financial audits revealed that their annual security costs, luxury property taxes, and global public relations retention fees far outstripped the actual revenue being generated by their independent lifestyle initiatives. To make matters infinitely worse for the crumbling Sussex empire, the internal investigation into their international financial dealings has started to uncover a massive network of anonymous shell companies and shadow foundations that had been used to fund their lavish public appearances and private security operations. For the past 4 years, the public had been led to believe that the Sussexes were independently wealthy individuals living off their personal inheritance and successful corporate partnerships, but the raw data paints a completely different picture of financial instability and massive institutional leverage. Anonymous sources within the financial compliance sectors of the United Kingdom have confirmed that several large-scale transactions moving through their non-profit entities were actually flagged by international banking networks due to unexplained origins and complex corporate layering. This financial scrutiny has added an entirely new layer of existential dread to Meghan's operational strategy. It means that she is not just facing the loss of her social status and royal identity, but also the very real possibility of a comprehensive, multi-government investigation into the financial mechanics of her global brand. The contrast between her public lectures on corporate ethics and the dark, unverified realities of her private financial ecosystem has created a massive reputational crisis that no amount of polished public relations spin can repair. While this financial storm was brewing across the Atlantic, the social fabric of London's elite society was actively executing its own brutal, unspoken purge against anyone associated with the Sussex camp. The British aristocracy functions on a strict, unspoken code of absolute deference to the senior line of the royal family, and the moment Prince William made it clear that the title strip plan was an active operational reality, every major aristocratic house in the country instantly closed its doors to the Montecito faction. Old friends who had previously maintained quiet, back-channel text message threads with Prince Harry suddenly deleted their accounts and severed all communication, terrified that any continued association with the rogue prince would result in their absolute exile from future court events. The absolute isolation of the couple became painfully evident when several major high society weddings and charity galas took place in London, attended by the absolute pinnacle of European royalty, while Harry was left sitting entirely alone in a standard hotel room in Birmingham during his solo trip. The public image of Harry operating without his usual elite entourage was not a matter of personal preference or a humble return to his roots. It was the direct, visible consequence of a coordinated, institutional blackout designed to show him exactly what his future looks like without the protection of the crown. The internal psychological dynamic within the Montecito mansion has reportedly degenerated into a toxic cycle of mutual recrimination and absolute panic as the full scale of William's strategy comes into view. Meghan has spent years convinced that her unique understanding of modern media and celebrity dynamics would allow her to outmaneuver the slow, traditional machinery of the palace, but she is now discovering that the crown's patience is infinitely longer than any Hollywood news cycle. Every single platform she has attempted to launch over the past 12 months has faced immediate, catastrophic setbacks, ranging from trademark rejections by federal regulators to the sudden resignation of top-tier executives who refuse to navigate the chaotic, high-stress management style that has become synonymous with her office. The failure of her latest commercial lifestyle brand to secure a major distribution partner was the final, devastating blow that confirmed she has completely lost her golden touch, leaving her with an empty luxury brand that possesses no products, no institutional backing, and absolutely no consumer trust. The sudden realization that her royal titles were the only true source of value she ever possessed has triggered an intense wave of anger directed at the palace, but her public statements have lost all of their previous leverage. The global audience has simply grown completely exhausted by the constant cycle of grievance and unverified victimhood. The deep-seated institutional panic reached an absolute peak when palace solicitors officially finalized the administrative alignment between the Sussex title strip and the ongoing removal of Prince Andrew's remaining honors. By grouping Harry and Meghan in the exact same legal instrument as the disgraced Duke of York, Prince William executed a brilliant, ruthless public relations masterstroke that completely neutralizes any claims of personal bias or sibling rivalry. The official documentation presents the entire operation as a necessary, high-level administrative cleanup designed to safeguard the dignity of the monarchy from anyone who brings commercial disrepute or legal scandal to the family name. This means that in the eyes of constitutional history, Meghan Markle's royal exit is being legally categorized alongside the absolute downfall of Prince Andrew, destroying any remaining pretense that her departure was a brave, progressive pursuit of personal freedom. The psychological impact of this specific legal grouping has completely shattered Meghan's narrative framework, forcing her to confront the reality that her legacy is being permanently written not as a global humanitarian icon, but as an institutional liability that had to be systematically removed for the safety of the state. As the legal paperwork sat on the desk of the Prime Minister for final cabinet review, the focus shifted entirely back to the strategic significance of that highly secretive letter sent by Princess Catherine to Prince Harry. The true purpose of that communication was now becoming clear to the few insiders who managed to glimpse its operational impact. It was a tactical decoupling mechanism designed to offer Harry a final, incredibly narrow path toward personal survival, while leaving Meghan entirely isolated in California. Catherine's letter did not contain any emotional apologies or invitations to return to the active working ranks of the firm. Instead, it outlined the absolute, unyielding reality of the legal measures that William was about to deploy, giving Harry a clear, unmistakable choice between his family's survival or his wife's commercial ambitions. The sheer timing of the letter, arriving precisely as Harry was preparing for his solo journey to Birmingham, was calculated to maximize the emotional distance between the Duke and Duchess at the exact moment they needed to remain unified. It sowed a profound seed of doubt in Harry's mind, forcing him to realize that the people he had spent years attacking in the international media were the only ones who actually held the power to save him from absolute financial and social ruin, creating a deep, silent fracture within the Sussex marriage that began to widen the very moment he stepped onto the plane alone. The silent fracture within the Sussex marriage became an absolute, undeniable reality the moment the digital security networks at the Duchy of Cornwall registered that Prince Harry had officially checked into his private quarters without notifying his California team's communication directors. For years, every single text message, email, and logistical update passing between Harry and his father's office had been rigorously monitored by a highly specialized team of Hollywood public relations managers hired explicitly by Meghan to ensure total narrative synchronization. But the moment Harry received that handwritten letter from Princess Catherine, he quietly deactivated his standard corporate-issued device, shifting to a secure, encrypted satellite network provided directly by the Royalty and Specialist Protection Unit. This minor, highly technical adjustment was the ultimate betrayal of the Sussex operational manual. It meant that for 72 consecutive hours, Meghan Markle was completely blind to the negotiations taking place between her husband and the future King of England. She was left stranded in her multi-million-dollar Montecito fortress, frantically calling secondary palace lines only to be met with the cold, automated responses of senior estate administrators who informed her that her security credentials did not permit access to the current communication logs. While Meghan was trapped in a state of absolute informational blackout, Prince William was finalizing the geopolitical alignment of the title strip plan with senior leaders of the Commonwealth nations, ensuring that when the axe finally fell, there would be absolutely zero international blowback. The Sussexes had long believed that if the British Parliament ever attempted to strip their peerages, they could simply pivot their brand to the broader Commonwealth network, positioning themselves as alternative, progressive leaders for a modern, global audience. But William's strategy was 3 steps ahead of their ambition. He had spent the previous 6 months conducting private, high-level video conferences with the Prime Ministers of Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, systematically presenting the raw financial audits and the evidence of the Sussexes' commercial exploitation of Shahi status. The Commonwealth leaders, facing their own domestic economic pressures, were completely unwilling to expend political capital to protect a rogue California brand that had consistently shown nothing but contempt for the traditional structures of the crown. The consensus was absolute and unyielding. The moment the king signed the final enforcement orders, every single Commonwealth nation would instantly synchronize their official registries. erasing the titles from their state documents and leaving the couple with absolutely no international refuge. The financial reality of this global containment strategy began to manifest in a series of brutal, closed-door meetings between Meghan's legal representatives and the international banking cartels that managed the private wealth of the European aristocracy. For years, the couple had maintained a highly complex network of offshore accounts in Zurich and the Cayman Islands, using the prestige of their royal titles to secure ultra-low-interest credit lines that funded their massive security apparatus and lifestyle operations. But as the verified reports of William's finalized plan reached the compliance desks of these elite financial institutions, the risk assessment matrices shifted instantly. The banks realized that an empty Hollywood brand stripped of its historic peerage was an incredibly volatile asset, and they immediately issued formal demands for the restructuring of the Sussex loans, requiring immediate collateral verification within 30 days. This financial squeeze meant that Meghan was suddenly forced to liquidate several of her private shell companies, exposing her internal operational expenses to the very auditors who had been quietly compiling a dossier for the Inland Revenue Service. The psychological breaking point for the Montecito campaign occurred when a senior executive from a major American streaming platform arrived at the estate with a formal contract termination notice, citing the non-disclosure and institutional integrity clauses that had been embedded in their original 2020 agreement. The executive stated bluntly that the platform had not invested hundreds of millions of dollars to produce basic lifestyle content or independent documentaries. They had purchased the exclusive, raw mystique of the British royal family. With the title strip plan confirmed and the HRH status permanently neutralized, the commercial value of the partnership had effectively dropped to zero, leaving the platform with a massive financial loss that they were determined to recover through aggressive litigation. Meghan reportedly reacted with a wave of controlled, furious defiance, threatening to release a series of unedited, behind-the-scenes audio recordings that her team had secretly captured during her brief time as a working royal. But her legal advisors immediately intervened, warning her that any attempt to weaponize unauthorized recordings against the Crown would instantly trigger the immediate activation of the Official Secrets Act, resulting in international asset seizures and a devastating federal investigation that would permanently end her career. While the corporate foundations of the Sussex Empire were turning to absolute ash, Prince Harry was sitting in the private gardens of Highgrove, participating in a quiet, profoundly emotional dinner with King Charles that would ultimately seal the fate of the entire dispute. The king, whose physical energy was being carefully managed by his medical team during the treatment pause, looked across the table at his son and explained that the time for emotional compromises and media negotiations had officially expired. Charles made it clear that his duty to the preservation of the crown was absolute, and that he would not allow his personal affection as a father to leave a compromised, vulnerable institution for Prince William to inherit. He presented Harry with a final, unyielding choice. He could either accept the reality of the title strip plan with absolute dignity, stepping away from the commercial brand operation to maintain a private, protected relationship with his birthright, or he could stand beside Meghan in her upcoming legal battles and face total, permanent exile from every aspect of Shahi history. The sheer weight of the moment completely broke Harry's remaining resistance, forcing him to realize that the alternate reality he had tried to construct in California was nothing more than a temporary illusion that had completely run out of time. The implementation of the public transition plan began at dawn the following morning, as the palace press office released a series of highly disciplined, clinical statements that systematically redefined the public identity of the family's non-working members. The communications did not use the aggressive, sensationalist vocabulary of the tabloid media. Instead, they deployed the cold, devastating precision of traditional court circulars, announcing that the administrative registries of the House of Windsor had been officially updated to reflect the streamlined operational structure of the modern reign. The names of Prince Andrew, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle were systematically shifted to a secondary, non-active appendix within the state documentation, permanently separating their biological lineage from the executive authority of the Crown. The global media response was an absolute, chaotic explosion, with news anchors worldwide scrambling to analyze the legal mechanics of a document that had effectively neutralized the most controversial brand in modern celebrity history, without firing a single public relations shot. Back in California, the physical reality of the total eviction became visible to the public when local logistics vehicles were spotted entering the rear gates of the Montecito mansion. Tasked with removing the heavy security apparatus and specialized communication arrays that had been loaned to the couple during their initial departure from London. The removal of these state-funded assets was the final, undeniable sign to the international intelligence community that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex were now officially classified as private citizens with absolutely zero institutional standing or state protection. Meghan Markle was forced to watch from her balcony as the symbols of her royal identity were systematically dismantled and packed into unmarked transport containers, leaving her with nothing but an empty, echoing estate and a mountain of unresolved financial liabilities. The corporate strategy she had spent 6 years constructing, a plan she believed would completely modernize and conquer the ancient British monarchy, had been utterly destroyed by a future king who simply refused to play her game. The final sequence of this historic dynastic purge was completed when Prince William stepped into the sovereign study at Buckingham Palace, placing the verified, signed execution orders directly into the central historical vault alongside the letters patent of past centuries. The future sovereign looked out over the mall, completely indifferent to the screaming headlines and the frantic commentary of the international press corps, because he understood that the survival of the institution depended entirely on drawing an absolute, unyielding line between public duty and personal ambition. The confirmed title strip plan was not an act of sibling revenge or emotional reaction to a family feud. It was the clinical, necessary execution of a long-term constitutional vision that ensured the crown would always remain completely untarnished by the volatile dynamics of Hollywood commercialism. The line had been drawn in permanent, unalterable ink, proving to the world that while anyone can attempt to buy or sell the imagery of the court, the true soul of the British monarchy belongs exclusively to those who are willing to completely surrender their lives to the service of the realm. And that, my friends, is how the ultimate Shahi endgame was finalized without a single public relations shot being fired. It wasn't a reality TV shouting match. It was a cold, calculated, and clinical administrative execution that permanently separated the crown's historical authority from the world of Hollywood commercialism. The lines have been drawn in unalterable ink. Prince William's master plan is officially locked in the central vault, and Meghan Markle is left facing the absolute collapse of her global brand strategy. But now, the real question goes out to you. Did Prince William make the absolute right call by orchestrating this ruthless, systemic purge to safeguard the ultimate dignity of the crown? Or do you think that grouping the Sussexes in the exact same legal instrument as Prince Andrew was an unnecessarily brutal, public humiliation for a couple that simply wanted to build an independent life? Is King Charles showing true leadership by prioritizing his constitutional duty during this treatment pause? Or has the family completely failed to adapt to the modern world? Drop your honest analysis in the comments below. I want to see a massive debate on this one because the corporate Shahi illusion has officially been reduced to ash. If you found this deep dive investigative commentary gripping, do not forget to smash that like button, share this video with every royal watcher on your feed, and hit that subscribe button right now. Make sure your notifications are turned on so you never miss a single breaking constitutional update on Crown Watch. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the very next video.